This recipe has 4 different parts and will probably take me all day to make it. Will it be worth it? Most likely not. But what's going on, peeps? Welcome back to another Buzzfeed test. This recipe screams like classic Buzzfeed, something only they would think of making. It's the bacon-wrapped, mashed potato stuffed meatloaf. It's been suggested a bunch. It also got the top comment a bunch of times. And like I said before, this one's not gonna be easy at all, so let's get right into it. Now, because it'll probably take me the longest time, I'm gonna start with the meatloaf base. And for that, I grabbed 2 pounds of ground beef, some Worcestershire sauce, some Italian breadcrumbs, salt and pepper, fresh garlic, 2 eggs, an onion, shredded Parmesan cheese, and some milk. We're also eventually gonna need 2 packs of bacon and a bunch of fresh parsley. Now, first up is the vegetables, and I love how Tasty just casually skipped over this step. I'm not going to. I show you guys everything. So I cut up my entire onion. You need a cup of diced onion and some of those fresh garlic cloves. Shoutouts to Chef's Path for hooking me up with some new knives. They're not paying me to say this or anything, but these things are so sharp and durable. I feel like I'm gonna constantly cut my finger off with one of these things. But once I had everything diced up and in my pan, I did use a little olive oil at the beginning. You really only want to lightly saute this. I added the garlic in second because I figured that'll cook a lot quicker. And I left it to the side while I prepare everything else. Next up, I cut up my parsley with my same chef's knife. This is probably my least favorite thing to do in the kitchen. It takes forever, but you really don't want any of those parsley stems in there. I also cut up a little bit of extra parsley here for the mashed potatoes that we're gonna make a little bit later. So let's throw all this stuff together. I started with the 2 pounds of ground beef, dumped in my sauteed onions and garlic, along with a cup of the Parmesan cheese, 2 eggs, 1 cup of breadcrumbs, a little bit of salt and pepper, some of that Worcestershire sauce, half cup of milk, and give everything a good mix. And once you got everything combined in there, just finish it off with a half cup of chopped up fresh parsley. And already this seems like a pretty promising meatloaf recipe, so I covered it up, threw it in the fridge while I prepared everything else. Next up is the ketchup glaze, which I'm a little bit skeptical about how this is gonna taste. Heads up with this, I'm showing you how to make it just as they did in the video with a cup and a half of ketchup and then a bunch of spices and brown sugar. You don't need this much. I ended up with more than half of this left over. But the third thing that we have to prepare for this monstrosity is the mashed potato filling. I grabbed some of my potatoes, of course. Now again, they conveniently don't show the 30 minutes worth of potato boiling that I had to go through. Obviously this part's really easy. I'm just complaining for no reason. It's just the waiting here. And you only need 1 pound of potatoes, so I weighed them out and it ended up only being 3, which I thought was strange, but I went with it. I took them out of the boiling water, peeled off their skin, roughly diced those up, and added in all of the ingredients as shown in the video, the butter, salt, pepper, and Parmesan. This milk seems like way too much, but we'll see if it works, and some parsley, even though they didn't include it in their video. Now, either I grossly underestimated how many potatoes I needed for this, or they used too much milk. Either way, I had to end up dumping some of the milk out and boiling yet another potato in an attempt to make this smoother and more mashed potato-like, and I guess it looks a little bit better, so I'm just gonna use it. Now yes, once you grab your 2 packs of bacon, I don't even know if I'm gonna need all of this, but I got it. You can finally begin to assemble this insult to vegans and vegetarians everywhere. You gotta line this bundt pan with bacon all across the outside. I don't really love how I have to overlap the bacon in the middle so much. I feel like it's definitely not gonna cook through that well. But that's what they did, so I continued right along and threw in some of my meatloaf meat. You have to kind of smash the meat down in there while pushing it up along the inside and around the outside, because you're basically making the crevice that the mashed potatoes will go in. After I thought that I had that looking decent, I tossed in my mashed potatoes, and I think that is the perfect amount. Mine are definitely just a lot chunkier than Tasty's was, but they still look pretty good. Now, with the very little remaining meatloaf mixture I had, I tried to cover up the entire top of the mashed potatoes and make the whole thing level. Now, as I quickly went back to check Tasty's video, I realized at this point they brushed a coating of that ketchup mix across the top, And right here, I realized I didn't brush the entire inside of the bacon with it. I'm sorry, I forgot. We're coating literally the entire outside of this in the ketchup stuff, so maybe it won't be necessary. Anyway, all you gotta do now is fold in your remaining bacon flaps that were hanging off the sides. This should cover the entire top of your meatloaf if you measure it properly. And mine is looking pretty good, so I covered it with some tin foil. I threw it in a 350-degree oven for 30 minutes. After that, I took the foil off and popped it back in for another 30 minutes. Now, it has been an hour. I only opened the oven once to take that foil off. And as you can see, this bacon is disgustingly raw looking. So hopefully, to combat this raw bacon, after I coated the entire outside in that ketchup mix, I put it in the broiler, even though Tasty said for 5 minutes. I did mine for like 12 to 15, hoping that that bacon is gonna crisp up a little bit. And this did come out a little blackened on top, so I'm optimistic that it cooked through a little bit. And as I say that, this, ladies and gentlemen, is what you call straight up raw pork. All the way across the bottom, where the bacon was layered like 2 to 3 slices deep, this just didn't cook at all. So in an attempt to try to make this at least consumable, I threw it back in the same temperature oven for probably another 25 minutes. And I guess it's just time to taste this. So guys, this is probably not the first time I've had issues with bacon not cooking properly in the oven. See, look, even after that extra half hour I gave it, like, the chopped meat is still red. Like, I'm sure it's eatable, like, you could eat hamburgers like that, but meatloaf is not supposed to be, like, medium rare. Either way, so, unsurprisingly, it tastes good. It's just really fatty meat with spices, mashed potatoes, and bacon. Like, look at this. I've showed you 100 million times. But look, that, I mean, somebody tell me, is that raw? Is that even edible? Does anyone actually want to eat that if it is edible? The taste is good though, like I said. Could probably avoid that if you laid off the bacon and tried not to overlap them so much. Maybe you could cut them at certain angles. I don't know. If any of you guys try it and have success, please let me know. I don't know. I definitely wouldn't go through the process of making this again. I gotta give it like a 3.5 out of 10. But I hope you guys enjoyed this week's recipe. If you did, leave me a big like. You guys always kill it with that. This week, let's try to hit 6,000. I don't think we've hit that in a while, but follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Leave a comment down below if you've tried this or any other recipes you want to see me try, including DIYs. Other than that though, have an awesome weekend, and I'll see you right back here next time.